TMCI TV. My name is Douglas Wilson, and I'm on the media team at TMCI. And it is my honor and privilege to interview today Bishop Mitch and Deborah Martinez. They are TMCI missionaries to Dominican Republic, and I actually had the honor of serving with them there for about 8 years. So welcome, Bishop Mitch and Debbie. Welcome to TMCI TV.
Thank you. What a privilege.
Well, it's great to have you here.
Well, it's good to be able to make contact with you again.
Yes.
We miss you, Doug. We miss you, Chris.
We really miss it, especially the weather right about now in January here. It's
That's when it's really perfect in the Dominican.
yeah, it's quite the shock to the system to go from a tropical climate back to Georgia where it gets below freezing, and it's just been quite the shock to us. But
Well, I'm sure the Lord will help you adapt.
yes, God has us here for a reason right now. So
That's right.
we're just following him. But I wanted to talk to you today about your background with TMCI and how you met the Covingtons and how that all worked. I know from reading, the history of TMCI that you were the first missionary sent out by TMCI.
Well, we had a call on our lives to go to the Dominican Republic, and as we were preparing, gearing to go there, we realized that we needed a covering.
Can we back up before that?
If you want.
Yeah. I was teaching at a Christian school in West Columbia, and Bishop Ben was on the board of directors. And about that time, we were pastoring a Spanish church in Colombia, and we had met a couple that invited us to go down to the Dominican Republic. And when I heard about that trip, it was like I just had to go. I'd heard that expression, having birthed a vision, and I felt like a vision was birthed in me that day, and I just had to go. And Mitch said, well, go then. And here we had 5 kids, 12 and under, and and not a lot of money to get on a trip to go somewhere. But we mentioned it to some people at the school, and when Bishop Ben heard about it, he said, well, I have $200 here from my education fund. I'm going to put this on your trip. And I went on that trip, and God just spoke to me in so many ways. As a matter of fact, I came back and said, that's it, Mitch. We're moving to the Dominican Republic. And he said, wait a minute now, I'm the one that wear the pants in this family. I have to go too and see if that's the truth. And
But we had felt the call to missions for a long time. We were both missions majors at Bible College. That's where we met.
Okay.
And but we just continued to work in ministry, but didn't feel a specific call to a country or so we were prepared when God called us. And
well, then we went to another denomination we were working with, and they pretty much told Mitch that we had too many kids. We had 5. We were a little bit too old. We were over 35, and we had a teenager, and it was kind of like 3 strikes, you're out. And so Bishop Ben and Judy talked to us about having a covering under TMCI. And that's how we were able to go out with our funds being handled by Bishop Ben. We were a little nervous about handing over our checkbook to him, but he assured us that he would make things happen. And God has been so faithful over the years. We've been on the field. This is going to be our 30th year. And God has been so faithful to provide for our needs and send us people. And a lot of people, Doug, have come from TMCI to come visit us.
That's wonderful.
Bishop Bob has been there many, many times with Ginny, his first wife, and Cheryl came too, and many, many pastors and ministers through TMCI have been to the Dominican Republic and made an impact. And we're really, really grateful for that.
yeah.
That's wonderful. So because of TMCI, and you mentioned another couple that asked you to go, that kind of opened up your calling into missions and the Dominican Republic. So tell us, you mentioned God has been faithful and done a lot over the last 30 years. Could you give us a few stories about what God has done and how he's been faithful throughout all this time?
Well, we've been able to plant a number of churches over there, and that God has helped us to also build the sanctuaries for these churches and find pastors that will remain in the pulpit there working for the Lord. And then probably one of the biggest things that happened was the start of the first Christian school there in La Vega. Debbie maybe could share a little bit about that.
Oh, I just want to back up a bit. We just last night, we met a couple. We had dinner with them, a couple from Cape Coral, Florida, down by Fort Myers, who are interested in joining TMCI. And so we were telling them the story of our first church. And we had just been in the country a month when our son Joshua was having a birthday, and he wanted a goat for his birthday. And we're like, a goat? We heard they eat everything off the clothesline. You know, we were scared to get a goat. So we talked him into rabbits. And we went down this, Mitch went to this community called Soto and finally found the rabbits. But in the meantime, when he went through the whole community, he realized there was no church at all in that community. And then we found out that a study had been made by another mission organization that 6,400 communities did not have one single evangelical church.
Wow.
And so God really put it on our hearts to start planting churches. And I was sharing with them how in that first 4-year term, we were able to start 3 churches and get a place for them and install pastors. And many of the people who helped us, we hadn't even known beforehand. It's like God made a way, and then he provided the people, he provided the funds, that we saw such a hunger in people to accept the word of God. And now, after all these years, we see many of our first converts serving as pastors, as children's pastors, as teachers, and some of those, their kids are in our school in La Vega Christian School. We see many of them go through. The school is in its 23rd year, I believe. We have over 300 students from K2 all the way through high school. And many of our graduates are serving the Lord in an important posts in the government and society as doctors, as nurses, as teachers, and all parts of society. And they're having a good testimony. We're so proud of them.
That's incredible. Wonderful.
A lot of our success has been through the help of others that have come alongside us and helped us financially, and also sent teams. Teams are a very important part of what's been done. You know, like if you're building a church, you don't have the funds, the team can help bring in some funds and also some labor. And little by little, as the teams provided, we were able to put up the churches. They're getting a little more expensive than they used to be, but originally probably for about $8,000 we could put up a sanctuary. I think now we're up to about 40 or 50,000.
Yeah.
But it's still not much considering, you know.
Not much compared to the US, but
That's true. When
prices are rising everywhere.
Yes, it seems like you can't build a church for $1 million in the good old USA. I don't know.
Yeah, 40,000 is a bargain. Okay.
Right.
So, and tell us more about the team, because I know my wife and I went on a short-term trip to the Dominican Republic, and that's where God really kind of challenged us and called us and said, hey, you're to go spend some time overseas.
That's right.
Has there been other experiences like that that you've seen, or tell us just you know, the impact, a little more impact other than the labor and the finances. What impact do the teams have on helping you out on the mission field?
Well, you know, we have different kinds of teams that come, and they work. We try to channel them into churches that have needs. You know, like if a church says, we want to send a team and we want to work with children. Well, a lot of these churches, they just don't have the finances to do a special program for children. But these American teams can come, and they're a great blessing. Usually they'll have a couple interpreters with them, or else we'll find a couple interpreters for them. And they're able to come in and do a VBS. We had one church that it was a big team, so they split into 2, and they did 4 VBSs in one day. I mean, every day they would do 4 VBS sessions, 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon.
Wow.
And, you know, and these churches were blessed because it brought all kinds of the community into their church area. And then, you know, we work with the pastors, and the pastors get their people geared up to going out and inviting people to church and meeting the people.
We've seen people get saved, people get healed during ministry teams, filled with the Holy Ghost, so many incredible spiritual milestones in people's lives. And then, like Mitch was saying, that usually when you have a guest speaker or a guest group, and people want to see what the Americans are doing,
Yeah.
that brings more people into the church. And for many, it's the first time ever. Like I remember one medical clinic we had at the Rosa Sharon Church, we had 287 people come in 3 days. And I was thinking, how long would it take to go door to door and visit all those people? It just wouldn't get done. And now some of the strongest leaders in that church are people that came in through the medical clinic. So this is a way of reaching, not only blessing the church, but blessing the community and bringing new people in to know the Lord.
Teams, we're talking about the impact of the teams on the communities, but the communities have impacts on the teams.
That is true. It's a two-way street.
Many people have never been overseas or been in a setting, and besides getting off the tourist track to see how people really live in the third world or in the majority world. And they'll come and they'll be really touched by the community. Dominicans are very warm and friendly people, and they sense that. And sometimes, it's strange, but sometimes young people, I'm thinking about the youth groups that come, they don't have a lot of exposure to little kids, and to play and hang out with these little kids, you can just see how much joy it brings to them and to the little kids who love the attention.
Right.
So, I mean, there's just a lot of ways. And many people, I'm sure, have received a call to missions, as you and Chris did, through being on a team and being exposed to the needs that are out there.
And speaking of joy, what you said about that, I think it's eye-opening for young people, especially. I really believe that every Christian young person should go on a missions trip, at least for a week. I think everybody should have that. The Bible says to go into all the world and preach the gospel. And that's not just limited to a few people. Some people are called for long-term service. Some people are called for a year, 2 years, or 8 years in your case. But I think we should all be open to the possibility of going on a missions trip. But the joy I'm speaking of is how so many young people say, wow, these kids are poor and they don't seem to have much of anything, but they're happy, and they see that it's the joy of the Lord. And another team, just recent team that came was saying, we're just worshiping here with a guitar, and we're just singing, and we don't have fancy lights, we don't have a fancy sound system, but I can really feel the Lord here. He says, I have to go on a missions trip to get reset every year. I don't know, something about missions is close to the heart of God. And I truly believe that people's lives have changed forever on the missions team, on the missions trip. So we're just so blessed and privileged to be able to host teams that we've seen some of the best of American youth and some of the best people in the world come through. It's such a blessing.
There are all kinds of teams. We have construction teams that come and they bring funds for construction. And these guys, they've pulled together a team that really works hard. They work hard. And we just had a team recently put a very large roof on a church. And they worked, from morning till dusk, and they were so happy to be able to help and meet some of the people there. We have medical teams, that come, and we work with medical teams, dental teams, ladies teams. I like to think about the ladies teams because often Debbie will schedule a ladies tea, and it's like a church. You go to a church, you let the pastor know these women are coming and they're going to minister to the ladies, and they get the invitation out, and a lot of ladies will show up, maybe
people that don't usually go to church.
That don't go to church. And then the ladies on the team, they share their faith, and I see God touching their lives.
That's right.
And some of these people in these poor communities, these women work very hard. And so, just a little event like that is a big thing.
It's a big event, yeah.
It means a lot to them. And I always remember one tea that was done that they put little snacks on little paper plates. The women did, for the team did for these women that were coming. And then I remember, these plates maybe had a little print on them or something, flowers or something on them. I remember visiting one of these homes of one of these ladies that attended these teas, and there was the little plate hanging up on the wall,
Wow.
because they don't have a lot of money for decorations in their homes. And so, it's amazing what you can do. You think that, you're limited, but God uses you on the mission field, and whatever you put forth, God is able to use in some special way.
Even a plate, yeah. Well, I hope that in the future, now that you and Chris are stateside, that God will use you to help organize teams. I know you're really good at that. That's one of the things you did when you were with us,
Right.
doing the logistics part and, finding the place to stay, organizing them, helping with the schedule. And I hope that is something that comes out, because I think some churches maybe would like to do a missions team, but they're not sure how to go about it. And I know that you're a key person.
Yeah, that is something that we would love to do. And I had a thought and it just left my mind. But I like you, Deborah, think everybody should experience at least one trip in their lifetime, because it changes your perspective. It really opens your eyes to, maybe it's not so bad here. Sometimes you think now is a strange time with the grocery store is kind of half empty and gas a little higher than normal and inflation and all. It's kind of a strange time in the US, but it hasn't really affected my wife and I as I've heard other people talk about it, because that's what we got used to there.
You're used to shortages and high prices.
Right. Yeah. So it hasn't really affected us. But you were talking about, a lot of times when people go on vacations, they'll go to Cancun or they'll go to the Dominican Republic, but they'll be in a tourist area, which is a lot different than where you're ministering. Could you tell us a little bit about La Vega and the places that you're ministering in?
Well, La Vega is a fairly large city, over 250,000 people there. And I would say maybe 2, at the most 3% of the population are evangelical,
Mm-hmm.
or, Christian. And so it's a very needy city.
Yeah.
There are other areas of the country where the population statistics are different, but La Vega is probably one of the neediest in the Dominican Republic. So we felt led, we've been there 30 years.
Yeah.
We felt led to stay and continue to work in this area, even though we met quite a bit of resistance from time to time.
Can you share about the Haitian ministry?
Yeah, you should share about that.
Yeah. So we
Tell us how
actually
that-
mostly concentrated in going out into the country areas, the areas where there was no church, and helping get us to church started there. And then about 8 years ago, I started working with a Haitian pastor, and then I met some other Haitian pastors and saw their passion to have a school for their children, because many times the little Haitian kids, and we live in an agricultural area, so a lot of the Haitian workers come in to work the fields, and they're not really taking anybody else's job. They're doing a very important job. So we started partnering with these wonderful Haitian pastors that have so much faith and pray and live under so much adversity. You were saying how we think we have it bad in the US because prices are going up a little bit. Most Americans have no idea
Right.
the level of poverty that so many people around the world suffer. But we've been able to come alongside these Haitian pastors, and now we're up to 14 schools that we're helping to support the teachers, like giving them a small stipend so that they can, they can buy their groceries and pay their rent. We have over 800 children involved, getting an education that would not have been able to get an education. What happened to me was I was traveling to see a friend, and I was thinking, man, there's so many Haitians on the street, like people unemployed,
Mm-hmm.
And God spoke to me saying that immigration was the government's concern. It's my job to love my neighbor. And I had realized I had kind of neglected that whole people group in the DR, and they need the gospel as much as anybody else, if not more. So it's just been a real privilege. When we go back next week, one of our first orders of business is to have the Christmas parties for the Haitian kids. We'll be sponsoring, scheduling that and going to each school and giving each child a present. That's been lovingly wrapped by our team over there. And that'd be for many kids the only present for Christmas. It's pretty big, it's pretty exciting.
They celebrate Christmas, yes, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, but they also have Three Kings Day, which the government officially is recognizing it on the 10th.
Right. So really, most kids are expecting a
Of
present in
January.
January, not in December even. That's their big present time. They're hoping to get a present.
So,
But that's been a real joy to see churches built over there. We built a number of Haitian churches, and when we go back now, Mitch has got 2 projects lined up.
mhm.
So if anybody wants to come and help, you're welcome.
So what are those 2 new projects, Mitch?
Well, we have, there's a church in the city of La Vega, in El Atico is the area called, and we helped with the construction of a school there. And now the funds have come in, and the sponsors who have been really backing that program, they are wanting us to put up a sanctuary over there for the pastor and his congregation.
Okay.
So we'll be putting that up. And then also we have in an area called Limoncito, we have started work on the 2nd story, where we're moving the sanctuary from the 1st floor to the 2nd floor, because the 1st floor has a lot of columns to support the 2nd floor, and it's not the best setting for a church, but it's a great setting for the school they have.
Right.
And they can't really divide it up until that sanctuary is built up on top of what's going to be their school. So those are 2 projects that are waiting for us. I don't know if there's something else,
I'm
but
sure we'll find something down the road.
something always comes up.
Well, needless to
Vino,
say,
Vino's another
there's
project.
plenty of work to be done,
That is the truth.
and there's plenty of souls to be won.
Amen.
So if you're interested in exploring missions, the Dominican Republic is a great place to start because it's fairly close to the United States. You can get an airline ticket for, between $500 and $700, maybe a little bit more. And your expenses aren't too terribly bad while you're there. So if you'd be interested in learning about missions and taking a short-term missions trip, I would encourage you to take that in the Dominican Republic with Bishop Mitch and Deborah Martinez. Thank you so much for your time this morning. We've had a great talk, and I look forward to coming down again soon.
Oh, I
and
hope
helping you
so.
out some more.
Right.
More on a short-term basis, but hopefully we can get down there once or twice or 3 times during a year and get some work done down there.
Amen.
Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, Doug, thanks so much.
That'll be great.
Everyone be
To all our
blessed. And
TMCI partners.
yeah, thank you so much for listening and taking the time to listen today and watch TMCI TV. Have a blessed day.
Dios le bendiga.
Amen.
Amen.
Thanks so much for watching TMCI TV. If you found any benefit in this episode, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and ring the notification bell so you can stay up to date with our future videos. If you are interested in planning a church, starting a ministry, or looking for 501c3 tax exemption status for your existing church or ministry, TMCI can help. Click the link in the description below for more information. We look forward to hearing from you soon. God bless.